I had been working on a device that looked like a cross between an underwater flying saucer and a sunken raft. The idea was to develop a small-scale base of operations that could be moored underwater. That way, a diver could stay down much longer and work far more effectively. Ultimately, it could serve as an underwater observation station, a research platform, or an automatic sentry. I had rigged the base with just about everything that might be needed to meet any kind of underwater problem. A radio receiver, transmitter, spare air tanks and regulators, a well-equipped first aid kit, food bottles, underwater flares. But I still hadn't had a chance to give it a good test. That chance was coming toward me a lot faster than I realized, with human life about to be precariously balanced on the testing scales.
Hey, Mike, come aboard for a minute, please?
Yeah, sure. Howdy, Jerry.
Howdy, Mike. This is Norm and Harry Hervey. Glad to meet you.
Ah, nice meeting you. No? Oh, well, Harry Hervey. Ah. Those names sound familiar.
You've heard of us?
Oh, yeah, sure. You're photographers. You do underwater photography for important magazines.
That's right.
And mighty good at it, too, I might add.
Well, thank you. But maybe not quite good enough for our next job. It's a big one. A very big one. We plan to photograph the Santa Colada.
Santa Colada? Yeah, that is a big one.
First exclusive news photos of that ship lying on the bottom would be worth a fortune. At any front page of magazine cover in the world. So we intend to get those pictures.
But she's down at least 180 feet and in bad water. The deepest we've ever been is 90 feet.
Oh, that's quite a difference, isn't it?
Well, that's just why we're here, Mike. We'd like to have you put in with us.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of something at the moment.
We need you right now while that ship is still hot news.
Sorry, I'm busy right now.
Well, I guess we'll just have to go it on our own then, honey.
It's twice as deep as you've been diving. You'll have to do some special training in order to operate properly at that depth.
Well, how about running us through a few deep dives right here for familiarization? And then we can go it on our own from there. You know, Mike, these pictures could be worth about $100,000. You'd be doing us a great, great favor.
I'll do you a greater favor. I'll give you some advice. Get rich some other way.
The next day, I was heading out to conduct more tests on my underwater base. I didn't know if the Herveys had heeded my advice or not. They had not. They were already trying a deep dive. I saw the Herveys' boat and knew that they must be diving. I wasn't going to avoid them, but whatever kind of dive they were making, I didn't intend to get involved. The water seemed ideal for diving and for underwater photography. The Herveys didn't realize the great dangers in diving below 100 feet. They were enjoying themselves tremendously. They amused themselves by taking pictures and playful poses. They tried weightless acrobatics. They realized that the pressure might affect them after a while. But they didn't realize that one of the dangers can creep up on a diver before he knows it, even though it may not affect another diver at the same depth. Its first symptoms can be very pleasant. The diver has a false sense of gaiety and security and confidence. Begins to suffer delusions. Some of the delusions are playful, some of them violent. All of them are deadly dangerous, not only to the diver himself, but to anyone near him. It's called nitrogen narcosis, rapture of the deep. The rapture of the deep had hit Harry with full force in its most violent form. In his distorted mind, his wife suddenly had become a sea creature, about to attack him. He whipped out his knife to attack first. In a moment, she was fighting for her life.
What's happened?
My husband's in trouble. He's gone wild. He pulled a knife on me. Oh, Mike, help him. Something's happened to him.
Yeah? Where is he?
Straight down. Be careful.
I will.
I figured immediately that Hervey must have been hit by a bad case of nitrogen narcosis. And if I didn't get to him quickly, he'd hurt himself and drown. I found the safety line and moved down cautiously. I wasn't able to see Hervey, but he saw me. Harry had run the knife into himself. That calmed him down. I brought him toward the surface. From that depth, we needed to make stops to decompress. Luckily, we had enough air to make them.
They hit her just a few minutes ago. She came up too fast. We've got to get her to the recompression chamber.
Oh, it's too far. She'll be dead before we reached it. Hold your hand on that, huh? All right. Get him to a hospital.
What about her?
Taking her right back down. Gonna start recompressing. Now, Jerry, when we get underway, you get on that radio.
No, Mike, the radio's broke.
All right, when you get ashore, notify the Coast Guard, and then contact Dick Talbot of Avalon Airways. Tell him to fly a portable recompression chamber to me right away.
All right,
Dick Talbot.
Dick Talbot.
Avalon Airways.
How's he gonna find you down there? Your boat's too small to...
I'll take care of that. You ready?
I'm ready.
Jerry, hold that tight, will you?
Hold on that tight now, you hear?
Norma Hervey had come up from great depth much too fast. She had a bad case of the bends. A decompression chamber could save her life, but one might not get there for hours. Norma couldn't last that long. There was only one chance to keep her alive. Take her back down to 165 feet, where the pressure would again compress the crippling bubbles of air in her body. Ordinarily, a diver stricken with bends can't do this. He doesn't have enough air to stay down the necessary hours. This was where my underwater base might prove the answer. I had enough air cylinders right there to keep Norma down for many hours, if necessary. And as a depth platform, it would keep us well below 165 feet, fairly comfortably while the treatment continued. In our hurry, we hadn't even had time to strap on Norma's tank. Putting it on was painful for her. I couldn't wait for Jerry to get the boat into harbor and start help to us. His radio was dead, but I had an experimental radio unit on my base which would now get a practical test. A more practical one than I wanted. The transmitter receiver, built with new techniques of miniaturization, was designed to float to the surface when released. A waterproofed throat microphone and earplug were wired to the radio. Once on the surface, it could transmit a limited range. I hoped that it would be far enough. I got no answer. I had no time to wait for one. Norma's condition was getting worse. We had to communicate by means of an underwater slate. She was begging for a sedative. I had one in my kit, but I didn't dare give it to her. If she dozed off or fainted, she drowned despite anything that I could do. I had to tell her that it was too dangerous. She pleaded with me that she couldn't stand the pain. I knew how she was suffering. All I could do was order her to stick with it. She did stick with it. Her pain seemed to be easing somewhat. The return to pressure was having its effect. In one way, that wasn't good. The stabbing pains had helped to keep her awake. Now I could see that she was growing lethargic. My message told her she absolutely must stay awake. Her life was going to depend on it. I tried the radio again. I wasn't sure that it was working. Maybe no one was in range.
Mike Nelson calling CQ, calling CQ, calling CQ. Mike Nelson calling CQ. Come in, please. Anyone. Calling CQ. Calling CQ. Mike Nelson, please come in, CQ. Come in, anyone who hears me. Come in, CQ. Calling CQ. Urgent.
Urgent. Calling CQ.
I had to tend to Norma again. She was slipping in her fight to remain conscious. Suddenly, we were confronted with something that could provide the stimulus that I needed to keep Norma going. Sharks. Ordinarily, underwater, it is far more likely that a shark won't attack than that he will. But sharks have an uncanny ability to sense weakness. Like sea vultures, they seem to know that this girl was failing rapidly. Deliberately, I let them come closer. I was hoping that when Norma saw them, the adrenaline of fear and alarm would jolt her wide awake again. I let them come as close as I dared. My supplies included a shark repellent attached to spears. It was a new type with the scent of porpoise. Sharks fear the porpoise, which often batters them to death. But no repellent works for sure. The repellent spread, and the sharks turned away. I realized that unless Dick was already on his way in the amphibian with the decompression chamber, he'd never get to us in time. I had to find out. I decided to try and get him on the radio.
Avalon 327. This is Mike Nelson calling Avalon 327.
Avalon 327 calling Mike Nelson. I read you, Mike. Very weak, but I read you.
Do you see the boat, Dick?
No, nothing. Nothing below.
It's a very small one. Can you home in on my signal? Can you take a fix?
Let's try. Give me a long count.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 10, 9, 8.
I'm reading you now, Mike. Keep counting.
We'll go. 10, 9.
3, 2, 1.
I'm losing you, Mike. I'm losing you. 327 calling Mike Nelson. Come in, Mike.
I had lost contact with Dick, and now Norma seemed to be giving up.
Come in, Mike. Come in. 327 calling Mike Nelson. Come in.
Active somehow. Among my stores, I had supplies of liquid food in plastic bottles. I showed Norma how to take them. It seemed to have some effect.
Avalon 327. Dick, acknowledge.
Come in, Dick.
Avalon 327 to Mike Nelson. Mike, I'm reading you. Give me a long count.
Do you see the boat yet? Do you see boat? Do you see the boat? Acknowledge. Do you see the boat? Acknowledge.
I'm losing you, Mike. I'm losing you again.
Avalon 327. Avalon 327. Dick, do you read me? Dick, do you read me?
If there was any hope left at all, it would be on the surface. I had been conserving my smoke flare until I could be sure that Dick was close overhead. Now I would have to use it. I ignited it and sent it up. The smoke would be our last resort. I started to crank the platform toward the surface. We moved slowly upwards. Norma had reached her absolute limit. If we stayed down any longer, she would die anyway. When we broke the surface, there was the amphibian.
Come on, back. You're back. Back. That's right.
In half a minute, Norma was inside the portable recompression chamber and on her way. The underwater base of operations had met its first real test. No matter how it might be tested in the future, none would ever be more satisfactory.
Hi, I'm Lloyd Bridges, inviting you to join us for another action-packed story of underwater adventure 1 week from today.
agreed with an oceanographic institute to teach one of its scientists to skin dive. I didn't realize how pleasant an assignment this would be until my pupil, Liza Kenny, appeared for her lessons. She was very pretty, knew more about the sea than I did, and was learning to dive with surprising speed. She was enjoying it, too. Despite the fun of diving, nothing could divert her long from the project in which I was also to assist her, a study of kelp. This remarkable plant is a friendly haven for sea life. It's extremely beautiful, but it can also be a dangerous trap for divers. Rich in vitamins and minerals, it is one of the fastest growing things in nature and could one day wipe out famine in the world. All this had caught Liza's imagination. And mine, too. Above us was a very strange-looking vessel, a kelp harvester. While we studied the density of kelp growth, the ship was going about its business of cutting and gathering. In addition to this, it was collaborating with the Institute's study project. We would have to stay quite deep. The bow of the harvester was extremely dangerous. Its blades cut the tops of the plants 4 feet below the surface like a giant lawnmower. The man caught in those teeth would be ripped to shreds. Yet the time was coming when I would have to take the chance of getting caught in that moor, deliberately. The next day, Liza and I were at the kelp processing plant. We had arranged to work from the harvester itself, jumping off at the edge of the kelp forest. As we walked toward the harvester dock, we were walking into a brand of trouble that I had never anticipated.
15 years I've been fishing around the kelp. Always is good. Then this boat come and it is bad. They cut the kelp and the fish go away. We go broke because of you.
Oh, no. Cutting the kelp doesn't affect your fish. Hi, Mike. Mike, come here a minute, will you? This is Mike Nelson. He's a marine specialist. He'll tell you.
Well, it's only the top of the kelp that's cut, you know. And lets in more sunlight, which makes more food in the kelp for your fish. Helps your fishing, as a matter of fact.
The law only allows them to cut down to 4 feet.
That's right. Yeah, I'm sorry about your fishing. It hasn't been any good lately, but it has nothing to do with this man's boat or the kind of work that he's been doing with it.
You're a liar. You're all liar. Please.
That's enough of that, mister. You better get off the dock.
I warn you.
I said get off the dock. No, let him go. This thing's got to be settled. Might as well be right now. Let him go.
Let me go. You like the cat? Eat it.
Dick. He's got a knife. No, Pop! Now, get out. All right, come on. The fight's over.
Get out of my way.
Put it away.
Get out of my way.
Watch out.
house or listen to reason.
I wish I could believe you.
I don't forget this.
It sounded like an idle threat, but we'd have been wise to have taken it seriously. The kelp harvester was working above, and we were surveying below. I again pointed out the blades to Liza. If we got too absorbed in underwater research, they could be on top of us before we noticed. The other big danger was the kelp itself. We had to avoid getting entangled or lost. At least I thought it was the other big danger. Liza was a good pupil. She remembered all the safety rules and obeyed signals. By the time we boarded the harvester again, I was quite confident of our ability to cope with any problems that we might meet in the kelp. Headed back to the dock with a full load of kelp and 2 happy divers. Off Point Fermo, Harmon and his son were having another luckless day of fishing.
What is it?
A mine. We better cut the net, quick.
No. If it were dangerous, by this time we would all be... Look there. It is not armed. I'd better call the Coast Guard. They would take care of it. No, wait. Bring in the net and the mine. They're going back to the camp.
Wait a minute, Pop.
I know what I'm doing.
But you can't go around blowing up ships.
Did I raise you as a man or a jellyfish? We find a mine. We get rid of it. If the kelp cut happens to come along in the same place, it is a slight accident.
I won't let you do it.
If you do not like what I do, take your wife and your brood and leave my house. Or show me you have a man's strength and courage to fight for that which he lives by. The fish in his net and the bread on his table.
Don't threaten to throw me out, Pop. Bread I'll always have. And I'm still your son. Whatever you do, I'll do it.
You will see. Pretty soon the fishing will be great. This time, we get the big one.
By the next morning, they had armed the mine. They had tied it to the kelp just below the surface, where it couldn't be seen and where the harvester would inevitably hit it.
watch out for those cutter blades.
Don't worry, boy.
I remember one morning I saw a seal get caught up. It wasn't a pretty sight.
I bet it wasn't.
I'll take care.
Very well. Come on, you ready to go here?
Even after years of diving, each new exploration of the underwater world is an exciting experience for me. We kept a weather eye open for the kelp harvester working above. When we saw it pass overhead, it reminded us to keep at a safe depth. We had no idea that after a few more long sweeps, the blades of the mower would hit the concealed mine. If it did, we would all be destroyed. A deadly mine had been found by two fishermen, Armand Davy and his son. They mistakenly believed that a kelp harvester was ruining their fishing grounds and had deliberately concealed the mine in its cutting area. Liza and I were working underwater very close to the mine, but kelp is a perfect cover, and we had seen nothing. Suddenly, I glimpsed a shape in the kelp, which transported me right back to wartime days. I had the same sinister feeling I had when I first encountered an enemy mine. It seemed to be armed, and it was tied off in the kelp. We couldn't go for help. The harvester would be slicing its way through the kelp at any moment, right on top of the mine. tried to make Liza understand the problem, but she was afraid of what might happen to me. All I could do was to write mine on her scooter. Because of my Navy frogman experience with underwater demolition, I knew the type of mine and how to handle it. There was no question about it. It was armed, all right. Liza heard the harvester coming, she had the presence of mind to try to warn it away. The arming mechanism was jammed tight. It was old and stiff. Liza did her best, but aboard the harvester, they didn't see her or hear her. I realized that I wasn't going to be able to disarm the mine, not in time. The harvester would be on us in seconds. There was only one thing that I could think of, but I didn't know if I could manage it. I had to get that mine down below those mower blades, so they wouldn't hit it. Just long enough for the harvester to pass by. I dove, pulling with all my might. The natural buoyancy of the mine was hard to overcome. I strained and kicked. I could feel the mine yielding, moving down with me, but ever so slowly. It was agony. I kicked with everything I had, trying to get the maximum force of water resistance against my swim fins. That final burst of strength, but down came the mine, just deep enough. The ship and the mower sailed past. The margin was as narrow as anything I've ever lived through, but it was enough.
Get out.
Within an hour, a Navy team had successfully disarmed the old mine and was lifting it on board as tenderly as if it were a newborn babe. I had saved the rope that had tied the mine to the kelp because I had a good idea where it came from.
From your boat, all right. Both ends match perfectly.
It meant nothing. You can prove
There's
nothing.
no need of arguing about it. The microscope will give us the story, and you'll both go to jail where you belong.
All right. But it was my idea, no one else's. Nicky was against it. He could not stop me. He tried, but I threatened him. I am a fool. Do with me what you want, but let my boy go.
Well, I'm sure they'll give your son every possible break they can. Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. You know, 3/5 of the world is covered by the sea. And how little most of us know about that underwater world. Go below with us again next week, huh? For another thrilling adventure in Sea Hunt.
Underwater. That's where I do my work. But one of the most harrowing jobs in my entire experience started 50 feet above the water, when I found myself in a helicopter circling over a sunken ship, which was loaded with deadly explosives. I had to get to that ship the hard way. Getting away from it later was to prove even harder. The job began with a frantic call to the office of Ed Harris, general manager of the Porter Construction Company.
Well, here it is. It's called the Minnie K, converted freighter used as a floating construction base.
Yeah, looks like a good work ship.
And she was. Early this morning, she piled up in a fog bank on Torrey Reef. Right now, she's 60 feet down with her bottom sliced wide open.
Torrey Reef, let me see now. Where is that? That's, well, it's off the Channel Islands, isn't it? About, 100 miles out?
That's right. Yeah, I'll show you.
Let's see.
Yeah, right there. Oh, yeah. Of course, by now, the Minnie K may have slipped off the reef and broken up completely. That's so, we're too late. If not, she certainly will go the moment the prevailing westerly winds come in this afternoon and the currents change. Once that ship begins to break up, nothing up and down this coast will be safe for weeks, maybe months.
Huh? How do you mean? What was she carrying? Radioactive stuff?
No. 20 cans of nitritol. It's a new form of liquid nitro, tremendously powerful. Once that ship comes apart, and those cans begin to drift and scatter, have you any idea what a nightmare that would be? Each one of those cans is more devastating than a mine 100 times its size.
Yeah, I know.
Mr. Nelson, we'll pay the limit. If you'll fly out there, get down into that hold, set a timer, and make sure that those cans are exploded out there harmlessly before that ship comes apart.
I swore I'd never get mixed up with liquid nitro again. And nitritol is worse. Could explode by itself. While I'm still down there. Oh, of course, that would take care of your problem for you, wouldn't it?
Well, I grant you, Mr. Nelson, it could explode by itself in any one of a dozen ways, but what if it doesn't? That's what I have to think about. A ship with 1,000 passengers could hit one of those cans and be ripped apart just like that.
Well, that kid playing on the beach could pick one up and blow up 20 people as well as himself. Where's your plane? I started out to the wreck in a helicopter. Harris had been trying to get an amphibian plane to take me out and bring me back, but so far this was the best thing that he had come up with. The big problem was that it wouldn't be able to touch down on the water. We reached Torrey Reef within a half an hour. Disturbance in the water where bubbles were still rising from the ship. So I figured that we had the right spot. The surface vessels were giving it a wide berth. There was only one way to get where I was going. The impact left me breathless, but I was down safely. The helicopter made another turn and came in with my improvised supply base. moment I pulled the ripcord, it began to open up. It was a special type of rubber raft with a hooded top and a unique boarding platform. My tanks, weight belt, and other items were all inside. We had picked the right spot. The ship lay on a fairly even keel on the reef. How long it would stay that way was anybody's guess. I tied off the raft to the wreck and sent up a marker buoy. One vitally important thing to do next, to take the water temperature. Nitritol is safe when kept below 50 degrees. Over that, anything can happen at the slightest jolt. 56 degrees. The nitritol was deadly. But I was committed to the job. I began to hunt for the special cabin in which the explosive was carried. As I swam into the corridor, I caught my breath. In front of me, bobbing against the ceiling, was a can of nitritol, floating loose. I got my hands on it as quickly as I could. I moved gently down the corridor, taking care not to bump into anything. The thermostat control on the outside wall confirmed that this was the right cabin. I moved inside. There were other explosives in here too, but I knew that they were not as dangerous as nitritol. There it was, a special rack with a series of sections, one for each of the nitritol cans, and each one of them capable of blowing everything, including me, to kingdom come at any moment. I tried not to think about it. I carefully restored the one that I'd picked up. 5 more were still missing. I closed the rack firmly. Deep inside the ship, I had no way of knowing it, but Ed Harris had just received an alarming report. The winds were beginning to pick up sooner than expected. He thought about it carefully, then decided that my mission would have to be cut short. His only contact with me was the helicopter cruising overhead.
Buzz down on Nelson the moment he surfaces. Signal to him to paddle clear as fast and as far as he can, whether he's finished or not. No, I haven't yet located an amphibian plane. Just keep circling as long as you possibly can. Out.
I was checking the deck when instinct warned me to turn, and just in time. How it had worked its way up through the ventilator without exploding was a real miracle.
All right, Lou. You won't do Nelson any good by running out of gas and falling into the ocean. Come on in.
I had been searching a newly sunken ship for cans of a dangerous explosive, nitrotol, which had floated free in the wreck. Now I had run out of air and surfaced to change my tanks. The helicopter was gone. I fondly hoped that it was because an amphibian plane was on the way to take me out of there.
That amphibian plane. Yes, keep trying, keep trying.
With full tanks now, I went below to resume my search.
Harris here. Good. How long will it take the amphibian to refuel? Good. No, don't send him up here. Send him directly out to Torrey Reef. Yeah, I'll brief him on the radio. Yes, with an amphibian plane now, there'll be a chance. Well, that pilot won't have much time for searching. He'll have to move fast and keep a sharp eye. Right.
It took me a long time before I found the next nitrotol can. In a very precarious perch. Now there was only one more bomb to go. And luck delivered it to me at just the right time, because even as I found it, I took a breath and ran out of air. I didn't have enough hands to hold both of the bombs and switch on my emergency air supply at the same time. It happened just outside the cabin. With a heart-sickening crunch, the ship writhed on the reef as the changing current clawed at her. The jolt spilled me, but my only thought was to hold onto those bombs, and somehow I did. Then, under the double pressure of anxiety and failing air, I placed those last two bombs in the rack and closed it firmly. I froze as I heard the rumble beginning again. was so short on air that I had no time to rig a detonator to explode the nitritol. I'd have to make another trip down for that. No amphibian. I was exhausted now. I would have to rest before diving again. I was too tired even to worry about the plane. No more air tanks, so I hyperventilated in order to skin dive down and back to accomplish my mission. I had only one thought: get below, set that timer, then get out. After that, I could worry about being picked up. Set the timer to allow myself 25 minutes. That seemed ample to let me reach the raft and paddle clear. But the long strain of underwater work had dulled my senses. I hadn't considered how weary I might be. As my mind began to clear, I realized that I should have set the timer for a much longer period. Now there was no interval for the rest that I needed desperately. I picked up the paddle and drove my muscles into action again. When that nitritol went up, it could blast everything for a quarter of a mile around. I dug water desperately.
Well, that raft is a bright yellow. You should be able to see it. Yes, I know the tricks that water surface plays on visibility. Well, why don't you try to spot the outline of the ship? That might help. Just keep searching.
It seemed as though I'd been paddling forever. I looked back. I could still see the marker buoy over the wreck. I was still barely on the outer edge of the explosion area. Tired as I was, I knew that I had paddled much further than that. What was happening. The afternoon currents had set in, and I was caught on them. The raft was being carried backwards. It would take every ounce of what little strength I had left just to hold my position, if I could do that much. I was losing the fight. The currents were too powerful. I was being pushed back steadily into the heart of the explosion area. Then I saw the amphibian. Harris had come through. It had banked and was at a steep angle. He had seen me, I thought. I was behind him now. He would never see me. I plunged inside the raft, hoping to find something in its equipment that would help. My hand hit a Very pistol. Sure close.
You're not kidding.
Hello there. I'm Lloyd Bridges. Skin diving is fun and adventure for young and old, but it can be dangerous. So know the sport well and don't take any chances. Be with you next week for another exciting sea hunt.